Many investors view property managers as little more than rent collectors, answering tenant calls when issues arrive. However, what if I told you that property managers offer a range of benefits often overlooked? Welcome to Strategy Saturday. I'm Charles Krillo, and today we are discussing the commonly overlooked benefits of a property manager and why hiring one might be the smartest move for you and your bottom line. So let's get started, and afterwards you'll have a whole new perspective on what a great property manager really brings to the table. So when it comes to property management, many investors believe that the role of a manager revolves solely around handling the day-to-day operations and managing the tenants. However, some commonly overlooked benefits might go unnoticed, but are still very valuable to the investor. In this episode, I want to share some of these benefits and explain why landlords and investors should consider when deciding whether to hire a property management firm or bring it in-house. Number one is optimized tenant management. So property managers remove any emotional factors, ensuring a thorough vetting process of new tenants. In addition to a basic background and credit check, most managers employ additional screening methods that many mom and pop landlords will not perform. More in-depth screening typically results in better tenants who stay and pay longer. Additionally, their firms are set up to handle tenant communication at all hours, including 24/7 emergency calls. So the system's all in place. You're really just plugging in your property. And when you take the emotion out of it, it's harder when there's emotion in it as a mom and pop landlord, because you're going to be pushed to kind of bend your underwriting criteria because you know you've got that mortgage payment coming up and you want that tenant to cover it. But if you are the property manager, you're not really worried about that as much. You're worried about having people go through specific steps that they need to check off all those places before they can come and move into the property. Number two is better bookkeeping. Now, most mom and pop landlords have terrible bookkeeping. Horrendous. If you buy any property, it's terrible for the most part, right? You'll see some that are really good, that have like a really good in-house like property management, but it's very rare to come across that. Most of the time, it's like a weird spreadsheet, or it's like some legal pads, or it's like some old grid paperwork that's, I don't know. But it is not concise, it's not complete, and it makes it a nightmare to sell or refinance the property. Now, this for the buyer, if you're buying a property that has some mom and pop seller, this is fantastic. It's a lot of legwork, but many people won't go through the work of trying to decipher what happened there. You go in there, you can do that. However, the thing though is that once we take over the property, we don't want that anymore. We want to have clear books and very complete books. So when we go and we refinance or we sell, you're going to get the top price because it's going to be clearly outlined. Here are the bank statements. They correlate directly with the rent roll and the T12, and everything lines up perfectly. When you go to the bank, they're going to love that as well. Okay, there's not going to be any issues. Number three is better vendor management and pricing. So good property managers maintain extensive vendor contacts that they utilize regularly, and they typically equates to a significant source of business for the vendors, allowing property managers to negotiate better pricing for their clients. Managers are skilled in managing properties and vendors, and often more effectively than the property owners themselves, adding to the value that property managers add. Additionally, a large part of what property managements do is work with vendors and contractors, making them experts in what a job entails and its associated costs. So this is great when you want estimates, or if you're having some work done and maybe you're not using a property manager's client or contractors, or maybe those property managers contractors are busy and you go out, you get a bid yourself, you bring it back to your property manager and they go, this looks fair, this looks a little high, this might be a little low. These are the things that you can get feedback from someone that's seeing these bids literally probably on a weekly basis from all their different properties. Now, furthermore, many property managers have handymen on salary, which makes many repairs faster and less expensive than hiring a handyman for every repair. Also, trying to get handymen out to your property is very difficult. And the thing is, just because they're a property manager doesn't mean they have good contacts. I've had some property managers, because they're not paying for the work, so maybe that contractor is good for the property manager because they show up, but they might be, and I've seen it many times, 2, 3, I've had plumbers before that property managers had quoted that were 3x what I could find, the plumbers that I had in my contacts. So it's important that you vet them. You just don't give them okay, just do whatever you want. But the thing though is that in many situations, the main thing that they have is, if with the unlicensed people that they have working like the handyman and stuff, this is where your biggest savings is going to be. Because if you have a clogged toilet at 7 p.m., okay, and you send over a plumber, it's a much different bill than sending over a handyman after hours, even with their, their higher pay cost, whatever. It's a completely, you're talking 3, 4, 5x difference, right, in pricing. So having very competent handymen that are on staff with your property manager, it's a vital resource, and you can't just find those people off Craigslist or something and then know they're going to do a good job. You know what I mean? You have people and they're on salary there They're going to be there all the time with that property manager. You can use them as you need it. Perfect for people that have small portfolios. Number 4 is improved legal compliance. So most landlords do not understand their local tenants and landlord laws. I mean, they're unaware of the rules, the protocols for handling tenants, when they fail to pay rent, what to do, when they can start evictions, what they need to document during that process, and so on. And this puts small landlords at a dramatic disadvantage. And you can verify this yourself. Next time you're at a local real estate meetup, ask a small mom and pop landlord how they handle non-paying tenants, and then ask a property manager. And you will surely get 2 dramatic different responses. And I did this once 5 or 6 years ago at a meetup. I was talking to it. They had a property manager. He knew exactly the time frame. So he was telling me, he goes, yep, on this day, this is what we do. 3 days in 5 days in, this is what we're doing. The file is going, after 5 days of non-payment, it's going to the attorney. Oh, they had everything set and systemized. And you compare that to a mom and pop investor, and they're like, yeah, if they don't pay, I can't hear from them. I try to work with them over like a 3 weeks or 4 weeks and all this type of stuff. And when you're waiting that long, you're never going to get paid. It's just what it is. It's very difficult for people to catch up. I probably can count on one hand how many times when I self-manage properties, how many times people actually caught up on back rent. You know what I mean? Most of the time, it's the beginning to the end. So catching it immediately and having the system in place is going to tell that tenant you mean business, and it's going to get them to pay or to work out a deal with you or to leave, whatever it might be. Number 5 is superior market knowledge. So good property managers know their market. They know the market rents, which unit types rent the fastest, what kind of tenants stay the longest, which parts of town have been most successful for their clients, and where to avoid. And they know what you need to offer to rent your unit quickly, and also know when it makes most sense to perform renovations. Now, the other thing too is that this happened to me directly when I was speaking to property managers and I was asking about different towns when I moved on to Florida, and they would tell me these towns are good. We've had issues in this town here in particular, which was where I'd moved next to. And it was one of those things where it could be 2 things. That property manager is not versed with that town, but when you speak to multiple property managers and they have the same sort of feedback, then you kind of get an idea that this is a very tough place. It's difficult to make money. I probably will stay away from this. And it saved me a lot of issues before even getting involved with a property there. Property manager is more than just a rent collector or someone who answers emergency calls from your tenants. They are an important partner that can increase the profitability and the value of your property while removing yourself from the day-to-day property management tasks, allowing the real estate investor to better use their time in scaling their real estate portfolio. And if you're unsure whether to hire a property manager or self-manage, be sure to check out episode SS231. That's SS231. So please remember to rate, review, subscribe. Please submit comments and potential show topics at globalinvestorspodcast.com. If you're interested in actively investing in real estate, please check out our courses and mentoring programs at syndicationsuperstars.com. That is syndicationsuperstars.com. Look forward to 2 more episodes next week. See you then. Have you always wanted to invest in real estate but didn't have the time, didn't know where to find the deals, couldn't get the funding, and didn't want tenants calling you? Since 2006, I've been buying income-producing properties in great locations that provide us with consistent passive income while we wait for appreciation in the future and take advantage of tax laws while we're waiting. And unlike your financial advisor, we invest alongside our investors in every property we purchase. Check out investwithharborside.com. If you like the idea of investing in real estate, if you like the idea of passive income, partner with us at investwithharborside.com. That's investwithharborside.com.
Nothing in this episode should be considered specific, personal, or professional advice. Any investment opportunities mentioned on this podcast are limited to accredited investors. Any investments will only be made with proper disclosure, subscription documentation, and are subject to all applicable laws. Please consult an appropriate tax, legal, real estate, financial, or business professional for individualized advice. Opinions of guests are their own. Information is not guaranteed. All investment strategies have the potential for profit or loss. The host is operating on behalf of Syndication Superstars, LLC exclusively.